Yeah, 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 yeah. Yo, step right in, it's a funky display. Talking shit, today's the vibe we portray. No filters, no rules, just letting it flow. Strap in, folks, it's the shit show. Welcome to the shit show, buckle up tight. We're dropping raw truth, keeping it light. Laughs and chaos, that's how we play. Talking shit today, all night.
Hey there, beautiful people. You stumbled into Talking Shit Today, where the opinions are loud, the jokes are questionable, and the drinks are always strong.
I'm X.
I'm Lumpy.
And I promise you that by the end of this episode, you'll either love us or hate us, or feel like you just left a very strange dinner party. Let's get into it.
Let's go.
So, Lumpy, welcome to episode 2.
Hey.
Hey, how'd you feel?
Welcome back.
Thank you. Same to you. New digs? Seeing how this works out compared to the last ones?
Indeed. We're in a different little space to record this little ditty.
Yeah. And I'd like to know what your thoughts were about our first episode.
I thought it was great. We had a nice little buzz when we were done drinking that Green River.
Absolutely. Green River definitely makes some fantastic juice. And if I remember correctly, we had the 250 special edition.
Indeed.
And we also had the straight bourbon that they have, which is also a wonderful selection.
One of my
which I
faves.
have both bottles still. And by the way, on the shelf in the wild, I saw 250. Somebody had 3 or 4 of them just sitting there. I had to special order mine, so finding it out in the wild, very happy for that.
That's an awesome thing.
Yeah. So in our first episode, we got to talk a little bit about how we met each other, and we got to talk about kind of why we're together doing this.
Absolutely. So I think one of the things that I thought was pretty neat, and some of our feedback that we got from other people is, well, I don't know much about bourbon, but
Sure.
It was a great show.
Yeah. Well, and I often bill myself as not really knowing anything about it. I'm just kind of along for the ride, but I think the more we do this, the more we learn, the more we listen, especially to those that have been doing this for a lot longer, then the more we get to kind of share that learning with others and make it at least pretend like we know what we're doing and what we're talking about.
And one of the funniest things is that you and I call this a hobby.
Oh, sure.
You know, who the hell calls drinking alcohol a hobby? As more of a lifestyle, really. Isn't it?
I think that when you're enthusiastic about something, you can call it whatever the fuck you want. And
Okay.
if
I'll go with
hobby's
that.
the right word for that, I think if I were to call this a hobby, it would be because I think most hobbies, you are willing to just spend money to enjoy your hobby.
You can see that. Like some people make birdhouses or
Sure.
build model airplanes or
And
even fly those planes. You know?
Yeah, well, and so speaking of models, when I was a kid, I spent a lot of time building like model motorcycles and model automobiles and trucks and those sorts of things. And our neighbor over here, he took that to a whole new level because he's been building his own airplane. So it's funny that you said building models and
Those are pretty
eventually
cool.
flying them. Yeah, but some hobbies are more expensive than others, and we just won't keep the prices of those going. So, but that's okay. So I'd love to share with you some of the statistics that we've been able to collect since publishing this. If you're listening to us, like a handful of you have already, you might have found us on Spotify or an Apple podcast. And for the statistics that Spotify will tell you, we have had at least 18 individual views that have lasted the entire length of the podcast.
Outstanding.
So that's awesome. And people have found us all 3 on the web and Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. So I think that's a really great start. And so if you're out there in listening land now, then please like, follow, share, comment, subscribe. Make sure that everybody you know gets to know Talking Shit Today. Very soon you're going to find us on TikTok, Instagram, and we'll have a small YouTube channel, which we might be making some appearances.
That's coming. That's future. That's future talking shit and viewing shit today.
We have said several times we both have the perfect faces for narration or radio. So we'll see how many people want to sign in for our ugly mugs.
Well, if they like the content, then we'll see.
Well, if they do, great. If they don't, fuck it. Just find somebody who does, share it with them, and get them to like, follow, and share with others. Okay.
Indeed. Let's go.
All right. So let's go ahead and move right into what's in your glass. Today, I was very, very happy to follow up on last episode in which we talked about single malts. And even though this is a podcast and no one has the opportunity to really see your face, everybody that heard you speaking about Scotch knows the face you made.
Oh, yeah.
It was clear in your voice, the face you were making. So
you mean the
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So the awesome thing about that is I mentioned, well, there's an American single malt whiskey that is newly minted. And it turns out it's either the very end of December last year or the very beginning of January this year. There's a bureau. It's called, you think I should have that already. It is.
Well, I'm definitely anxious to try this because I know how you had talked about single malts, and I said I don't recall ever partaking in a single malt. So
for sure. And the one that I found was from the Virginia Distilling Company, and it was a finished whiskey. So I think it was finished in port barrels, and it had this really chocolate cherry note to it, which is very dessert-esque. I found from Westward Distillery out of the Pacific Northwest, just in and around the Portland, Oregon area. Oregon, not Oregon, please. I say that as a former resident of Salem, Oregon. So this is their cask strength, which I selected specifically because, well, it hits that sweet spot that we like. It's about 125 proof.
Oh, very nice, very nice.
Slightly spicier. So the bureau that I was talking about is the Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau, also known as the TTB. They have recognized American single malt as a very specific and distinct whiskey here in the United States. And I won't do the full description justice because, come on, we want to get into the glass. The basic gist is it has to be made and produced at the same place. So 100% soup to nuts in the same location throughout the entire process. So no getting MGP, taking it to your place, taking it someplace else to finish.
So distilled, barreled, finished, all in the same location.
All in the same place.
That's good to know. I didn't know that.
100% barley. So whereas a bourbon requires minimal 51% corn in their mash, this is 100% barley. So it's certainly not bourbon, but it is most certainly whiskey. The next piece that is an absolute is that it must be aged in American oak casks. Now, it can be finished any which way you want. Matter of fact, the Westward Distilling Company or Westward Distillery, they finish theirs in all different kinds of ways. And I could have picked up a couple different expressions with that, but I like proof more than I like the finished flavors. So figured we might as well give this one a shot. So, are you ready to raise your glass?
I believe so. I hope I'm raising the right one there. Oh,
I think you are by the looks of it.
Yep.
And so, yeah, there's
there you go.
Clink. There's also a preview that there's a couple more pours to come.
So it's got a pretty good nose.
It does.
It's got a nice amber color to it.
It does. It's very rich compared to some of the others that are around. And Lumpy took the first sip, so let's gather his impressions.
Well, first taste is it's nice. It's got a good front side. It's got a good mouthfeel, and it's got an interesting finish. I've never had a whiskey that had a finish like that. No, I'm not saying that's bad. That's just it's unique compared to what I've had.
So I'm going to go out on a limb here with the tasting notes. So on the nose, I didn't really get much out of it other than good, maybe a little bit of a floral. And knowing that this is a barley mash bill, I can only really say it smells florally, if that makes any sense, at least to me. But immediately I know I'm drinking a higher proof. I like that. And then I can't help but taste apple, cherry sorts of notes on this. This is, according to the bottle, it's a cask strength single malt, not finished in anything special that I can read. And I am a fan. So I think 2 for 2 for me on the American single malts.
It drinks hot.
It does. I'd say it's got a medium finish.
Oh, yeah.
It's taken a little bit that it's still there, but I am a fan. I will
So
thoroughly enjoy the rest of that bottle
and it's a lingerer.
tonight. I mean, over time, I promise.
Well,
So,
that's definitely a good one. That's definitely a good one.
all right. As much as I don't want to, I'm going to set that one down because we have another feature. And this one comes not necessarily from a friend of mine, but on a recommendation from a friend of mine. This is the Mammoth Distillery, and they're in northern Michigan. And this will, in fact, be the second Michigan whiskey that I will have had. The first is a rye that they call, it's a northern rye that they call the number 3. I need to do a little more reading on it to figure out why it's specifically number 3, but there is a number 1 and a number 2. This is a 100 proof, and boy, do they do a lot with these. I got turned on to the concept of the Mammoth Distillery watching a TikTok creator that was talking about allocated bottles and how it can be difficult to find some of these, especially with a big age statement. And he was talking about that the Mammoth distilleries will show a bottle that could have a 20-year or a 24-year age statement. Matter of fact, on their website, you can find a Canadian whiskey that they sell with a 25-year age statement. That one is pricey, but most of theirs are very reasonably priced. And so this one, I believe, says that it has a blend of different ages. They also take their time to do pretty much whatever it is that they want. That is one of the neat things about them, is that they really take a craft approach to their whiskeys. And so they don't mind kind of bucking norms and doing things differently with their blending and taking different age statements and mixing them together and then finishing them differently. This particular one is finished also in cherry casks.
Okay.
So cherry brandy, I believe, that they have taken these after they were aged 9 years or so. And then they put their blend into this and then finished it out for another 18 or so months.
So this is a 12-year?
I'm not sure that this is
2013.
Yeah.
That puts us at 12 years.
So
we'll see how. For me, I get an apple nose. It's straight up an apple.
Apple's going to be popular tonight until the last pour. So while you are getting a experience with that, I'm going to look up something here really fast.
So, like I said, on the nose, it's I hate to say this, but I don't. It almost smells like apple juice to me.
And you know what? Honestly, this has got a lighter color than a lot of the whiskeys
It
that
looks
I've
like
drank.
apple juice.
It really does. So,
it has a very apple sort of, very apple finish. I get like light raisin.
Okay.
It's kind of that aftertaste after you eat a raisin, not like when you're first chewing it, but after you swallow it and that lingering flavor is still in your mouth. It still has that. Yeah, it's like raisin.
So one of the things to note also about this distillery is that they've worked with the National Park Service, and there is a island that is out there in Lake Michigan, I believe. And they go to this national park and they grow all their own rye there, and they source their rye from this island that they've grown locally.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And that is a story that I really can appreciate. Let me see if I can find more of the notes about number 3. You would think that with all the massive research that I've done here that I would have be already set, but so the Rosen Rye is already a part, but let's see here. Number 3 was released. And I'm not going to spend too much more time searching for this, but I'll go ahead and post some notes.
I like it.
About its mash bill and some of the other things about it. Let's see here. We've got number 3's been released. So I'm going to go ahead and take a quick moment and see if I can read. I'll at least read this part. So, what's in the bottle? According to Mammoth Distillery or distilling.com, Northern Rye number 3 contains a blend of 18% straight Michigan Wheeler rye aged in first use Missouri oak barrels, 29% 19-year Alberta rye aged in the second and third use oak barrels, and then 20% 15-year Alberta rye aged on the cherry wood staves. Various smaller fractions of 16, 17, and 18-year Alberta rye aged in cherry brandy barrels, steeped in cherry blossoms, or finished in various French and American oak barrels. This release offers incredibly unique and complex layers. That is a lot.
Yeah.
So what I get out of that is the age statement is really all over the place. It looks like if it's Alberta and this is in Canada, then they're taking Canadian whiskey, or rye in this case, and they're doing all sorts of fun stuff with it in their distillery. So I can and will appreciate that.
That's pretty tasty. It's very light on the palate.
That could also be, wow, I just took a drink and I was interrupted by the flavor. I wanted to enjoy that. It could also be going from a 125 down to 100, which makes it feel a lot lighter than it is. But that really has some of the qualities that I really enjoy because it's layered. And so you get a few different things as it moves around your palate, and then again in the finish.
So the more sips I take of this, I got to say, I'm liking it less.
Interesting.
I'm liking it less. You know, I have an interesting flavor profile that I gravitate to when it comes to bourbon.
Okay.
And it's definitely that very smoky, that dark fruit. And I still, with my immature palate, as we talked about in the first episode, the leather that everybody talks about.
Sure.
I mean, I kind of get it. I'm still figuring it out. And there's very few bourbons, whiskeys that are under 100 proof that really do that for me.
Yeah, I can see that.
So it's good, and I'll drink it. Don't get me wrong. I'll never turn down a free pour of decent whiskey. And this is good. It's just, this is not my jam.
Well, I think I will be happy to enjoy it. But while we're sipping our way through this, because we have to free up one of our Glens, and only because we are currently Glen deficient. And once we finish our Glen deficiency, then we will have even more to go from. But out of the Mammoth Distillery, or Distilling Again, is a little more of a special bottle that I was excited to get.
Oh, the old hazmat.
Because, yes, this is my very first hazmat. And this is, pardon the clinks there, they call this their tiki blend because this one is aged in rum casks. And I've had good reviews that I've read and heard for people that have drank regular bourbon that's been finished in the rum casks. But this one clocks in at just at the hazmat level of 140 proof.
Weezer.
I saw a demonstration from somebody, and it might have been someone who was trying to portray a Mr. Wizard, because they were showing how flammable your 140 proofs are versus how flammable another one is. So now we have more or less evenly divided the Mammoth Distillery's Northern Rye Hazmat 140 proof tiki blend.
Where did I get the tiki part? Where does the tiki come in?
I think because rum is Caribbean.
Oh, okay.
So
well, that makes sense.
the tiki bars are, your beach bit and all that sort of thing.
The tiki blend. Okay.
So, salute.
Salute. Cling. You go first, buddy. And first hit. Wait a minute. He's got to go for number 2. Hold on.
The second was hotter than the first. The spice on it builds. It's not an immediate punch you in the face. But as soon as you take your first breath, that you're drinking something that's hotter. The good thing for me is I get no rum on this whatsoever. But I do get something a bit more oaky, especially than the rye that I had.
That is damn tasty, bro.
There's no fruit to this whatsoever. I'm trying to think what else is there. I want to say coconut, but I want to say that that's not true, because I don't think it should have coconut. but I get kind of that flair to it.
Maybe it was finished in coconut rum barrels.
I suppose that's possible. And I'm really not a fan of rum. I've not had rum that I really enjoyed. So I am impressed with this and am enjoying it. And will continue to enjoy it for the rest of our episode.
Indeed. It is very tasty.
So Lumpy, I thought that maybe perhaps we could go back to the 1980s and the 1970s.
Good times, man.
And perhaps talk about some of the things that captured our imaginations as we were growing up. So what was that thing for you that if you saw in an antique shop would just bring you right back to running your shoes off in the street and waiting for the street lights to come on, and your neighbors being willing to whoop your butt because the community took care of everybody and you didn't piss anybody's mom off?
Well, the thing for me, first of all, I was a wild child, because I was left in my own devices. Sun came up, I was gone.
Sure.
Sun came down, I came back. The thing for me is I kind of grew up in that infantile age of BMX.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And, it's funny. I don't know how I stumbled across it a couple of weeks ago, but I worked my ass off because I had so many little side hustle jobs when I was 8, 10, 12, saving money here and there. And I remember buying my first, and this is for the BMXers out there, PK Ripper, which I only bought the frame and the forks.
Okay.
And I was still the coolest kid in the neighborhood.
I love
and that's
that.
all I cared about at the time.
Sure.
But, there was lots of other great bikes out there. Anyway, so yeah, for me, it would be like BMX bikes. I mean, I never really went much farther with it. I never raced. I never, did any professional stuff with it. I just did it as a kid.
Sure.
And the other thing is, man, if I had tons of money, well, not tons of money, but if I had enough money, I think go to video games.
Oh yeah.
And I used to ride that PK Ripper, man. Like, I think it was probably close to 12 miles to the nearest mall from my house.
Sure.
To go play Tempest.
Oh yeah. No, I remember that. See, for me, I agree with you on the video games. I grew up playing the Atari 2600. There was a Commodore 64 around as well, but we did a lot more Atari, especially as a family, because you could plug those 4 controllers in. It wasn't until I was older that I actually played with older Ataris, because Atari used to make an Atari 250, 400, 800, 750, 850, etc. And these are all modular computers that they had before it was even 128 keys. Like, they had fewer keys on the keyboard because you didn't need it. But your monitor was separate. Your 5.5 inch drive, or your 5.5 inch drive was separate. And if you had a hard drive, that was separate too. And they always retained the cartridge. So playing those games, but our favorite games weren't the ones that we had at home. Our favorite games were the ones that were in the arcade.
Oh yeah.
So there's no doubt for me. So yours is Tempest, and that kind of sets where yours is at. For me, it was Castlevania and Altered Beast. Those are the 2 games
I remember those.
that I found myself. And Altered Beast was one of the very first arcade games I ever beat. Not on a single quarter. I don't think that was ever possible. But I certainly did play that all the way through until it was finished. So yeah, absolutely. So what else? What got you in trouble that you can say, and what kept you out of trouble while you were roaming those mean streets?
Oh man, I was just that kid, man. I look back and I'm shaking my head just talking about it. Some of my childhood friends gave me the nickname of WD, which is short for walking disaster. I mean, it's just like I was destructive. I vandalized shit, and I look back and like, damn.
Just for fun, right?
Just because. And some people will say, man, there's something definitely wrong with you. Well, there was, until I was old enough and had to buy my own shit.
Sure.
And realized how wrong I was.
Yeah.
And what kept me out of trouble? Well, I was in trouble a lot. So I don't really know how to answer that question other than being able to run faster than the next guy.
Sure. That's actually a zombie survival trick.
Yeah.
So you were practicing early.
You know, the great thing is a half a block from my house was what I'd love to call the 100-acre woods.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my stomping grounds, the woods, man. I could run through those 100 acres in the pitch black
Mm-hmm.
and know my way around. That's how well I knew
Sure.
100 acres.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, and that's no joke, in the dark.
Yep.
And that was the stomping ground for all of us. I mean, it had tons of giant hills.
Mm-hmm.
We sledded there in the winter. It had there was hills we used to call Suicide Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And we all used to go down it, or we rode our BMX bikes down through that. And
well, and tell me that this is not something that kids today aren't still finding a way to do, because I remember, certainly not around here, and our children aren't going to experience this, but finding the steep hills to take the old cheap plastic sleds, or the trash can lids if you needed to, or the round sleds if you had it, to be able to go down those things that were really just like ice and sticks and dirt and rocks, and try not to break something as you went down. And so what if you ran into somebody or a tree or anything like that? But you would do that, and then in the spring and summertime, you'd run down them.
Yep.
Take your bikes down them.
Yep.
And please tell me that you also rolled sideways down them.
No, not these hills.
Oh, geez, we sure did.
These you'd get really hurt, really bad.
So I can't say that I grew up much as a churchgoer, but when I was a kid, it was one of those kind of mandatory things. And I remember one of the worst troubles I ever got into was because we were in our Sunday best. It was around Easter too, so everything was all bright and white and, spring. And at the church that my grandparents lived not very far from, we would go, and they had a very large hill, and bored kids that didn't want to sit around for Sunday school, didn't want to sit around for sermon. You weren't really old enough to be where the sermons were. You were a little bit older than what Sunday school should be for you. And your grandma worked in the nursery, so the whole church family knew you. And we took our Sunday best, and I say we. So I don't have any brothers or sisters, but I do have my two cousins that I grew up with, and others, but these two in particular. And we basically talked each other into rolling down a grassy hill
In your Sunday best.
in our Sunday best, never to be washed out, never to be enjoyed again. So yeah, that was those are the kinds of things that we would do, and we would just throw our bodies around. We had no regard or care for that. I remember running and doing flips and landing square on my back, knocking the wind out of myself on the hard ground. And nowadays, I think twice before stepping down a big step.
Yep. I hear you. When you get old, you're like, I could break a hip or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, don't cough too hard.
You said something
Mhm.
that just reminded me. Wasn't a churchgoer much. My parents were not churchgoers, at least my father wasn't.
Mhm.
And they used to force me to go to church.
Sure.
And I just remember having to walk to church, which was a block and a half from the house. And this is the 70s, man. I had a one-piece lime green leisure suit.
Nice.
And it's just one of those things. I'll never forget it. I don't remember much of the clothing that I wore. And this is
Mhm.
8 or 9 years old, man.
Mhm.
I remember that particular outfit
Sure.
just stood out.
Yeah, I think the outfit that I'm thinking of, there were pictures of us in that from earlier that day that have lived through time. And what's interesting about it is they harken right to Miami Vice. So you were a child in the 70s. I was a child in the 80s. And so that's really what that looked like. So the white pants, the white jacket, the pink top, like all of those 1980s.
Those
Yeah.
pastels.
Oh, yeah.
My God.
Yep. So, but see, for me, I played outside all the time, but I loved my toys. I grew up with playing with Legos. I remember going and getting like cheap, small little Lego sets, and they didn't cost anything like they do now. Like when you're talking about a cheap Lego set, you're like spending $1 and you got a race car or something like that.
Right,
Nowadays,
right.
it's like $25 for that same race car.
Oh, shit. Well, I just built one with my daughter
Mhm.
Saturday night. It was a 993-piece floral.
Probably like, oh, then that's $70 or more.
Yeah, it was $79.95 or
I
something.
know. There's that wall at Target. My daughters both love to look at that and fawn over it, but yet they will not let me buy an R2D2. It's only $100 compared to their $80 flowers.
Come on, man, you got big boy money.
I got big boy money, but I also have a family, and they demand a lot. Remember, Dance Dad. There will be signs.
Oh yeah.
There might be a lot of Legos. But also, I played with a lot of the toys that took imagination, like a lot of G.I. Joes, He-Man, Transformers, GoBots, if you go back far enough.
Oh my gosh.
Mask. There's all sorts of those toys that we'd play with. And inevitably, the toys that we played with, they would come together. So, and usually it was my two cousins that we got together with. So I didn't have a whole lot of friends outside of the family. I think your cousins, if you're close to your family, they're your first friends.
Sure.
So my cousins and I would get together, and we were 3 boys, so we would get all of our toys, fight with each other, bang our toys up, and then eventually toys would end up over at Grandma and Grandpa's house. And that's where we would go and see some of the toys we haven't seen for a long time. Of course, they're all in pieces at this point. None of them are complete. I remember an old AT-AT Walker that stayed at my grandma's house that today, even in the shape it was then, that'd been like a $2,000 toy. Right now. Like, these are the kinds of toys that we just played with and didn't think about. So,
why would you? You're a kid.
Absolutely. Well, and I remember one of the toys I had, and I got in trouble a few times because I played with it the way I did, but it was a C-3PO that was in pieces that went on a Chewbacca's back. And so there was a little net that you would put 3PO in, and you would strap it to Chewbacca's back. And every time I played with it and the pieces would be out, and my mom walked in and saw it, she'd be like, "You're going to lose your pieces." And she just got on me for it because she was afraid I was going to lose stuff. Now, she's being a caring parent. In my mind, I'm like, I got to play with this stuff. Like, I used to build Lego sets and throw them against the wall so they would explode because it was part of whatever imagination thing I was playing, and then just go and put them all right back together again.
And then blast it against the wall again.
Exactly, over and over and over again.
Fortunately and unfortunately, I didn't grow up well off enough that I didn't get the GoBots. I had I always got the cheap knockoffs, like the No-Bots they were called,
Sure.
But all my other friends would, have all that stuff, and
well,
I used to go over to their house and break their shit.
Yeah, I don't think that we grew up well-to-do, so to speak, but my mom made a lot of sacrifices to make sure that I always had a Christmas present, I always had a birthday present. For her, making sure that we had these presents were always important. And it was the same way for my grandmother, and I will never forget a Christmas. Because when my grandparents were alive and the family was still kind of together, we would always go to Grandma's house for at least a little bit on Thanksgiving, if not Grandma coming over to one of her kids' houses, and at least on Christmas. And we were at the grandparents a lot. Grandma and Grandpa, they were kind of like our babysitters. So we spent a lot of weekends over there and a lot of nights and whatnot. So, there was a lot of memories there. But especially at Christmas. We'd go over to their house Christmas morning after we opened up our presents at home, bring whatever we were going to bring, and we would have Christmas over at Grandma and Grandpa's. And one year, they were struggling so bad that Grandma just handed out pictures that they had taken at Olson Mills. And I don't know whether you had Olson Mills around you. We had Olson Mills around us, and that was or Olin Mills, not Olson Mills, sorry. Olin Mills was a photography place that everybody went and got their family portraits done at. And everybody did that. It's just what you did. Like, no one asked questions about that. You got dressed up in bad suits and you went and you did family pictures at Olin Mills. Like, that's just what happened. And so one year, and I still have that picture, Grandma handed out pictures of she and Grandpa. And she was crying while she's doing that, apologizing to everybody that she didn't have more to give. And that's one of my fondest memories and one of the most tragic memories of my grandmother, because she wanted to give so much to the family and she had nothing to give other than her pictures. And I said, "You know what, Grandma? That's wonderful. It's still one of my favorite gifts that I've ever gotten from her."
That's a great memory, though.
Yeah.
Meant she gave a shit. She cared.
Oh yeah. She loved her family. She was glue. And without her, things went like what happens when glue's not around.
So for me, my grandmother passed away when I was 7. And I really didn't get to see her too much because the last 7 years of her life she spent pretty much in a nursing facility.
Okay.
For the most part. And she died 2 weeks, I think it was about 2 weeks before her 100th birthday. And so my parents had me late, you know.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm certainly one of the younger ones in the family, so I get it.
so reality is, being a kid taught me a lot of things about how to be a good kid,
Mhm.
but didn't learn about being a good kid till I wasn't a kid anymore.
Sure.
But it molded, it sculpted, it formed what I now try to instill in my child,
Sure.
which I don't have any issues with my kid, which is, knock on wood. She's amazing,
Yeah.
as well as you have two amazing kids. We both do.
Thank
We're
you.
very blessed.
Yeah, of course. I completely agree with you on that. I think scars, they don't just tell a story, but they help shape it. And
For sure.
so when you think about all the wonderful things that have happened in your childhood and all the bad things that have happened in your childhood, it's really super easy to look back at experiences that may have been painful or leave you with poor memories. But the reality is they all shape you. So that shaping takes you to where you are today, and you're constantly being shaped. We live our lives as clay.
Oh,
It's no one's ever cured.
absolutely, absolutely.
So,
Well,
but
let's. One thing I wanted to talk about, um, and quite honestly, I'd like to, if anybody gets to comment on the show or wants to chime in on something on this, in comments, let's talk about AI. There's a lot of things in AI that even relate to this show. Our intro and our outro,
yeah,
created by AI. Our
yep,
images, for the cover page, created by AI. What is AI doing for you? Let's say at work.
yeah. Well, I think it's a great conversation that actually has a lot of things to continue to talk about, because I know that for my work in particular, we are exploring ways to automate a lot of the things that we do. And what a lot of people hear when they hear automate is replace. And the reality is, it is designed to make some things more efficient and replace some things that people do. But if you're in a company like mine, you protect your people capital and you focus on what you can remove from them that will make their jobs less interesting. The mundane things, the repetitive things. AI is very good at those sorts of things, but it's not very smart yet. I think it's smarter than I am, for sure, but not a lot of things aren't smarter than me, and I'm okay with that. I think that there's no way that I could make the images that it's made. It makes some really funny goofs when it does it wrong. I can tell you that it can't seem to figure out how to make a Glen correctly, no matter how I prompt it.
You said that.
Or
You said that. That's funny.
yeah, or to keep ice out of the glass of whiskey. I just want it neat. Come on, just make it neat. So, but that's okay. I
Maybe it
think
likes ice on its whiskey.
it seems to, for sure. So, I've certainly used it for the show. As you mentioned already, it helped us come up with this intro and outro. It gave me my name, matter of fact. Inadvertently, it named, instead of Gen X, it named me General X, and that just kind of stuck. So we went with that. It gave us our cover art. It's given us storyboards, ideas, backgrounds, and facts. You always have to fact check it because it's not always right,
Sure.
but it's certainly convenient, and it's very intriguing. Matter of fact, we've had it as a consultative kind of role while you and I have been jamming about what we want to talk about and how we want to structure the show. So,
Yeah.
what have been your thoughts about how you've interacted with it, either work or with the show, or just bullshitting with it to see what it might do?
Well, the interesting thing is I have all but used AI to completely change how I search things on the internet. Like, it's almost replaced Google for me.
Sure.
I'd say 9 times out of 10, when I want to search something on the internet, I use AI.
Sure.
If I want a description, or if I want to just generally find something, here's a prime example. I have a coworker who's building, I guess you want to call it a multimedia room. And he has he's going to have 4 large TVs, like 4 60-inch TVs. Big sports fan. and he wanted to be able to control all 4 TVs either independently or make all 4 TVs as one image.
Okay.
They're all put together like a wall.
Sure.
And I asked AI, I said, you know, I need to find a controller that will
Mhm.
control all 4 TVs, whether independently or as one.
Mhm.
And in 3 seconds, it
Mhm.
gave me 5 options with all the specifications, where to buy it. It's amazing. So again, using it for my internet searches it's replaced Google. I'm sorry, Google. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how to put this. I don't really have to use it yet that I know of in my place of business.
Mhm.
I can't see how it would help me, but I guess I haven't had a reason to try it yet. Now I do use Google while I'm at work because I don't really like using my phone at work, but I guess I could probably try that on the computer somehow, some way. But anyway,
That's interesting. What I would like to use it for more is coding. Coding is something that is one of my pet peeves. I thought when I was a kid and I went into college that I would want to program. And I realized with my very first college level programming class, even though it took 2 more for it to really sink in, I fucking hate coding. I don't know how I can be more clear on that.
that's awful. It's awful.
It was just terrible. Like, seriously, it was a bad experience for me. It wasn't anything I wanted to do. I didn't find it exciting. And I appreciate people that do.
Do you have to do Python?
No, I didn't do Python, although I think Python would be interesting.
It's not.
No, well, except that it's kind of, coding today is different than coding was then.
Oh yeah.
Coding today is like defining your variables and then building your loops and doing lots of other things. And I'm speaking well out of what I know. So for you listeners that do code every day, my hat's off to you. Linux hat or otherwise, Red Hat or otherwise, you get the reference. I am not a coder. So, but no, I did Visual Basic programming and I did RPG programming. It was RPG that actually killed it for me because it was so structured. You had to figure out, like, there were sheets that you had to fill out to put your code down appropriately, and then you had to plug that into the machine, and then it would compile it and give you output, and it would check all your syntax. And I just realized that the process was so labor intensive. And then, like a dummy, I eventually decided that I wanted to do program web pages. And so I started learning how to do HTML, and I started learning how to do Java, and I learned just the basic enough to remind me how much I fucking hate programming.
It takes definitely a unique individual to,
and I'm not that
just
person.
Go balls deep into it and just code away for hours and days and
100%.
weeks. And
so I went through and I discovered that not only do I dislike coding, but I really need to stop trying. So then I started getting myself into some of the, the WYSIWYGs, the graphical kind of applications that would allow you to create stuff, but you didn't have to code anything. Well, you can make reasonable things in those environments, but really the bee's knees is knowing how to code something, because then you can customize it to whatever the hell you want. So AI for me, not from web pages or anything like that, because there's too many really good graphical things to use, like Wix, for example. Our web page will probably be made by Wix. So that'll be just graphics and putting it together in templates and then putting something out there that probably looks like trash, but it's talking shit today, so it kind of fits.
Looking like shit today.
Looking like shit today, exactly. But I do a lot in Excel. So you and I have talked a little bit work-wise about things that we might try to do in Excel and try to help each other out. And so there I do feel comfortable, and I do a fair amount of coding in Excel, mostly understanding how to use the formulas and functions in Excel, and there's still a lot to learn. AI, I want to be able to say, I want to do this, tell me how. And then it will give me the code I need that I can then copy and paste into whatever the thing is.
Okay.
And then get the thing I want.
Cheater, pumpkin eater.
It's using your tools, as the kids today would say.
I get it. Use your tools, bro.
As the kids today would say, remember when we were growing up, you won't have that calculator with you at all times. You have to know how to do this stuff. and those same people put their phones away before they start teaching class.
That's right.
So
That's right. So here's an interesting topic about AI and the global usage of AI. And I read a very interesting article about how China is going to surpass the US in AI
okay,
from an energy or power standpoint.
okay,
The energy consumption needed by AI is substantial.
so I've heard.
And there's a lot of companies in the US that are literally building their own power plants to support AI. The US has about a 15% power buffer for demand, and they're not ready for this. China has built their power grids and power supplies for the future. They looked a decade in the future while building their power grids. And this is something we're talking 20, 30 years ago where they started. The US expands for demand. They don't think about future.
Sure.
They don't think about putting a 30, 40, 50% buffer in there.
Well,
as they build new houses, they're like, well, we need more power now.
Sure.
So they increase it. So it's like China just hit a grand slam where the U.S. is just going to get on base, is how it was spelled out in the article.
Well, I think that's probably without getting political, because we kind of want to avoid that.
Well,
it's
not politics.
Is the difference between capitalism and communism.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the supply-demand dilemma. And so what China and their government is investing in, because clearly it's not their private enterprise that's doing it, is they want to be a power broker in AI, just like they want to be a power broker in robotics. I watched a really interesting article, same kind of thing that you're describing for the AI and their investment in power grids. They have a fair amount of their government money that they are giving to companies to continue to experiment in robotics. Every single year, they've got a showcase of all the new things they're doing in robotics. China, you thought it would be Japan. If you watch any manga, you would imagine it's Japan that would bring this to market first. China is going to bring the first robot fighting TV show.
I can't
in
wait
which
for that.
Robots, little like 3.5 foot tall robots, are fighting each other like kickboxing style.
I saw a video about they tried to do that, and the first robot swung and fell over. He just fell over. There wasn't even a hit.
Hilarious.
He knocked himself out by a swing.
This isn't like the Boston Dynamics. Like they've got that dog that goes out there in the field and jumps through the snow and does backflips and by the way, they're not doing their thing anymore. But you're talking about a foreign adversary that is trying to become leading edge in robotic technology and AI technology. And if you're a conspiracy theorist of any form, whether you've got a tin hat on right now or an aluminum hat on right now, you're probably pretty worried about what our people, our fellow humans, way across the world, what they're investing in all this technology, because it's really, really, really interesting what they're going to be able to accomplish. And anything, I'm not a conspiracy theorist by any stretch, but I will say this. Anything that works for domestic, they've already thought through a military purpose.
Oh, yeah.
So while you're talking about a maid, a house cleaner, a chef, a laundry folder, any of these robots, military applications have already been thought through. And our military here in the United States most certainly is looking at that, just not talking about it. The difference between the US and China when it comes to robotics or AI or things like that is our money's probably getting sunk into the DOJ's budget or into the military intelligence, DARPA and all those things. So we don't get to see all that. We won't get to see all that. It's like NASA was working on microwaves before we ever got popcorn microwaved, right?
Of course.
So, we'll see what ends up coming from it. But I think that's incredibly interesting. There is a book, and I'll have to bring that to our next episode, that my dad was very, very into starting to read. And it was from a former executive at Google and his whole posit was how AI is going to get smarter than us, and how that's going to become.
Skynet.
Yeah, kind of. That who is going to be able to keep AI ethically sound in our view of what ethics are?
Yeah.
When it's smarter than we are.
Hmm.
So, and its pace is so rapid, we might not be able to keep up with it. So
we'll see.
I don't know whether it's an I, for one, am welcoming our, overlords that are going to come here in the next 20 years. I don't know. But I do know that AI is neat, and AI is dumb right now.
Oh yeah.
My experience with it, because I think what you have to try to do right now, if you're using AI, is you have to try to teach it. And it takes a lot of patience to teach it.
And it takes a lot of information.
It takes a lot of information. It has the ability to learn from the internet, which is cool. But at the same time, it's super easy to corrupt it. Like super duper easy. If you just go back a few years, Twitter had a bot out there that they had it saying "See Kyle" before like a day or two that it was out. Users had tampered with it so much that it became racist.
Oh, right.
So I think Trump has put on his Truth Social an AI bot that just counters everything he says. And whatever you think about Trump, and I don't really care what people think about our president, whatever you think about him, in his own social network, you would imagine you would want your bots to at least agree in principle with what your rhetoric is, right? And they won't. So it just goes to show you that it's not the way we want it to be. And so it's not pure. It's not super smart. It's capable for sure, but it takes a lot of patience to teach it to do the things you want to do. Cool thing for me for work. Next week, I'm going to be going to a workshop with a major company who focuses on CRM, which is customer record management. They focus heavily on this, but they also have a huge AI arm. And part of their AI that we're going to be working on is creating a bot that can do some of the things that some of my people can do. So we're going to see firsthand, I'm going to get firsthand experience with, can the bot do the complex analytics that some of my people do? So, and I haven't gone into the detail about what I do for work and all that. We'll just say that there's highly analytical things involved in the stuff that I do.
A lot of data.
Yeah, a lot of data, and especially my people. They're highly analytical, and they're kind of specialized in the things that they do. So can we stand up a bot to help them with that sort of thing, so that way they can focus on other kinds of analytics that are too complex for AI to conduct?
Sure.
And we'll find out. So,
well, that was our chat about AI.
For now.
One thing that we didn't do last time that we said we would do this time is we would like to plug a few people here and talk about one more thing. First of all, let's plug one of our favorite liquor stores, and that would be
Kenny's Liquors.
Yes, sir. We mentioned them in the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the bottle drops you and I have both been to.
Yep.
Kenny's has several locations in our region.
They do.
And somebody said to me just the other day, they're like, how can Kenny get all these unicorn bottles and, all of these rare bottles, for these bottle drops? And I said, I guess it's who you know.
It really is.
But needless to say, we've always been very pleased with Kenny's. One thing we thought is cool in their one location on the coast that we go to, it has the vending machine. You can buy yourself that little pay-to-play card, and you grab a Glen, and you get a pour of those rare bottles that they have in there.
And if you have ever been to a wine bar, or rather like a wine establishment that has a bunch of different wines, and you don't know what you want, they will often have these wines in these vending machines that you can just buy a card, you tap the card on the machine, and then you can pour a 0.5 ounce or a 1 ounce or 2 ounce pour of these things. Well, they've got, if I remember correctly, 4 machines that are set up, maybe 5, and in each of those are 4 bottles. And do you remember some of the bottles that you had last time we were there?
Oh, well, I remember you had the Russell's 15. You just got a squirt, and it was the end of the bottle.
Russell's 15 is still one of my favorite juices I've ever had. And I'm still trying to talk you into helping me invest in a secondary bottle.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
And honestly, no, I don't remember because I left there so hammered. I don't even remember what I drank. I drank $100 worth of samples.
Well, what I can say is this: we have had Pappy's. I got my first taste of Pappy's.
Pappies. You see, you got some Pappy.
So it was 10-year, and when I first had it, I was like, okay. So I've marked Pappy's off the list, but the 10-year.
Sorry, haters.
But the 10-year really was. I might have had better with the hazmat tonight than the Pappy's 10-year. The 12-year and the 15-year is when people say they really like it, and then the 20-year or the 22-year gets mixed reviews. So I've not had the 12, 15, 22, 21, or anything better than a 10-year. So we'll see. But one of my absolute favorite brown juices, sir. Absolute favorites. George T. Stagg.
Yeah,
the bull of bourbon.
Yeah.
So
that was pretty good, man. We had that there. I do remember that now.
So that was absolutely amazing. So I am a big fan of Kenny's in general. The last thing that we went to was a grand opening that they had, in which they had, what was the special bottle that somebody waited the whole night before for, was I think the Jack Daniel's Coy Hill.
Oh yeah.
So they had one of those. They had Russell's 13, but they were all gone by the time we got there.
Oh, we were like 50th in line. So.
We were, yeah, and that's okay. I think we still picked up some great bottles for that.
Indeed.
But their place out by the Intercoastal, and if anybody wants to know exactly where it's at, why don't you go ahead and comment, send us an email, just let us know that you want to know, and we'll go ahead and hook you up with the details. But Kenny's Liquors, absolutely amazing, and we'll plug them all day long. So who else did you want to mention?
So what was that other Parton's Liquors, which we haven't been to yet?
Mm-hmm.
That keeps coming up on feeds, and came up with the OBG for the Orlando Bourbon Gang.
That's right.
OBG.
And that was the barrel pick that I had picked up.
That's right. So the gentleman that we met from OBG,
mm-hmm.
Matthew. That's
mm-hmm.
right. Matthew. He was the one that I believe first told us about Parton's Liquors. That's a little farther away than we'd like to go, but I'm told that the selection there is fantastic. All you can look and
mm-hmm.
find Parton's on the internet. But yeah, I definitely want to give them a try. So I'm not really plugging them yet. I'm just throwing it out there. So that's what I had there.
Awesome. Well, let me give an honorable mention to a burgeoning distillery here in Florida that is trying to make their way.
And X just gave you a heads up where to start looking for these liquor stores, by the way,
sure.
Kenny's and Parton's.
Sure. So, well, I think we mentioned it in episode 1.
Yeah, we did.
So I think that's okay. But this is the Florida Whiskey Company. They've done a couple of kind of amazing things, and I'm very curious to see how this turns out, because they are still bringing their juice together. They're still working on it. And I might have reached out to them, and I might have talked with them about wanting to mention them on the podcast. And they said that they would be happy to hook us up with samples once they're finished brewing that we can taste and share with the audience.
And give us the name again?
This is the Florida Whiskey Company.
Okay.
So the Florida Whiskey Company, they're trying to do a lot of different things, and they're very open for input. So I've shared with them some of the mash bills that I love, and they said, and I quote, we should try that. What that actually turns out to, X will find out later. We'll figure that out.
And so will Lumpy, right?
Absolutely.
Once the bottles come in?
But they have done things like, so one of the interesting things about Florida, if you've not been here, is that we have a lot of springs, right?
Yep.
And our springs, underneath our soil, is a lot of limestone.
Heavy lime.
And what other, or I almost said country, what other state has a bunch of limestone that makes it particularly great for their bourbon? Kentucky. So what their experiment is, and they've done it chemically as well, but they've come up here, because I think they're in Fort Lauderdale, they've come up here around us, and they have sourced 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 gallons of water out of springs to take back to their distillery, filter, and then put it through. Now, the springs up here are all limestone springs. So we'll see what happens. There is something that's said, and the Texas distilleries talk about this, that the humidity that we have here and the heat that we have here age things more quickly than in the middle and northern states. And so we'll see what happens. I have yet, in my state journey, my journey around the country for all the different bourbons that we have, I have yet to try a Florida specific bourbon. Now, we do have one nearby us. I'm not going to mention them yet. Not heard great reviews. So I do want to try them. I do want to see. However, I'm kind of waiting for these guys. So I'll give them that real quick plug.
So I think we had a good topic coverage today.
Mhm.
You know, obviously we're going to do our bourbon.
Of course.
But yes, you know, we talked about the nostalgic things from our childhood.
Mhm.
We talked about AI. These are the shit we like to talk about every day.
Absolutely.
You know, we want to thank everybody for being here today.
Absolutely. Well, and, you know, for the people that decided to take the time to listen to the entire first episode, thank you very much.
Yes, absolutely.
Please continue to like, follow, comment, share, subscribe, and convince your friends that this is really the shit. And Talking Shit Today is what you want to listen to on your drive home, on your drive to work, while you're at school. Play hooky and listen to Talking Shit Today.
Oh, yes, please.
This is where it's at, for sure.
Well, we thank everybody again for being here.
Yep.
And we'll be most likely in about 2 weeks providing another episode. We'll be talking more shit that day.
Our goal is every 2 weeks you can get more drops of talking shit. And if we happen to stumble into being serious, we apologize ahead of time. However,
I'm sorry. Not sorry.
It is, I'm X.
I'm Lumpy.
And thank you for talking shit today with us. See you next time.
We're out.
Thanks for talking shit with us today. And yo, thanks for talking shit with Lumpy and X. Breaking it down till there's nothing complex. Riding the beat as we close the show. Catch you next time on the late night flow. Spin the dial, rewind the tape. We keep it real, this ain't no escape. Laughs and truth serve raw, not sweet. Mic drop, Lumpy and X bring the heat. Hey yo, thanks for talking shit with Lumpy and X. Dropping truths and making you reflect. We out like a jammer, smooth and slow. See you next time where the convos glow. Words in the air as the beat fades out. Lumpy and X, that's what we're about. So keep it locked till the very last say. Thanks for talking shit, we out today.